Today we'll hear about a legal aid client from a country area in New South Wales. He worked in manual labour jobs all of his life. In 2006 he was diagnosed with a medical condition, and by 2012 his condition became so serious it made it impossible for him to continue to work. Fast forward to 2018, this client was now homeless. He had a lot of debts that he couldn't pay. He went to a homeless outreach clinic that Legal Aid was running. At that clinic, he found out that he might be able to apply for a TPD, or Total Permanent Disability claim, under his insurance that he had with his superannuation fund. And the legal aid lawyers assisted him to make the claim, and he ended up being approved for $140,000, which saved him from being homeless. He was able to pay off his debts.
Hi, and welcome to Law for Community Workers on the Go. This is a series of podcasts brought to you by Legal Aid New South Wales. In each episode, one of us from the Community Legal Education branch will be chatting to experts on different legal topics. We're really excited to have you all listening today, and we hope that you'll learn something new and interesting.
Hi, and welcome to our podcast on Law for Community Workers on the Go. My name is Natalie. I'm with the Community Legal Education team here at Legal Aid New South Wales. Before I introduce my guest, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are recording on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. So April, welcome. You're a civil lawyer at Legal Aid New South Wales and the lawyer in the story I briefly told in the introduction. So what does it mean to be a civil lawyer at Legal Aid? And tell us a bit about the work you do and why you love it.
Morning, Natalie. I guess being a civil lawyer at Legal Aid involves helping everyday people with everyday legal problems that aren't of a criminal or family law nature. Sometimes these are difficult to spot because they don't seem immediately obvious. So the general things that we help people with are consumer matters, immigration, housing, debts, social security disputes, for example, where you can't get on the disability support pension. And I guess the work that I'm particularly interested in is trying to help particularly vulnerable people that we see who are in severe financial hardship or who are injured or unwell access insurance benefits through their superannuation.
Right, and that's the main thing we'll be talking about today. So our podcast on Law for Community Workers on the Go, we talk often about what's new in the law. So this area of TPD, or Total Permanent Disability Insurance, isn't a new area, but it is an area that a lot of people perhaps don't know a lot about.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess that's what's sort of exciting in a way about it is it has the opportunity, I guess, of making a real difference to people's lives.
So why do you think this topic is important for community workers to know about?
I think it's really important for community workers to know about because clients are contacting community workers or engage with community workers when they're at their most vulnerable. So I guess clients that become immediately apparent to me that might be able to, access insurance coverage through their super are people who are in severe financial hardship or people who are on the disability support pension or on a New Start payment but aren't actually able to work and are trying to get on the DSP. I guess it's just something that community workers should be aware of because the benefits of insurance claims through superannuation, as I said before, can be significant in their value and might actually get people out of financial hardship.
So the story I started off with, so that was a client of yours who didn't realise he was able to claim this insurance policy, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't able to work for a very long time and basically had no money, no income. Is that correct? Do you want to tell a bit, maybe explain a bit more about that story?
Yeah, so look, he's I guess not an unusual client that we would see at Legal Aid. And there is a huge lack of knowledge between vulnerable people and educated people about insurance in super. I guess to explain a little bit about it, for anybody that has worked for an employer after 1993, when compulsory superannuation came into effect, an employer has contributed, generally 9.5% of that person's salary towards super. And
that's for any jobs. Someone who's had a casual job when they were young, or part-time, full-time, anything. Like
apart from if you're a self-employed contractor. But most people that we see have been employed at some time. So, employers generally have a fund of choice, or certain industries have a fund that they use. So, for example, the health industry generally uses HESTA, retail industry uses REST, that kind of thing. And when these superannuation funds are opened, almost all, or I'd say most industry super funds in particular, have automatic insurance cover that is taken out on behalf of the member. And, the member's not necessarily told about it. They, in most cases have to opt out of that insurance cover. And so it's something that most people have, I would say. And there's 3 types of insurance cover that they generally have through their super. So total and permanent disability, which you spoke about earlier this morning, is one of them. Income protection is another insurance cover, and then there's also death benefits.
So that'll be clear on someone's insurance or superannuation policy if they have access to that.
Yeah, like generally it's you'll see it on somebody's member statement.
Yeah.
But, whether people actually get their member statements and read and digest them, and understand that there's actually insurance premiums coming out of their superannuation contributions, most clients that we see in particular don't ever do that.
So they might not even know they have a super fund.
Well, they might not know which super fund they have. And in my experience, most people, don't know that they have insurance cover and what insurance cover they have through their super. Yeah.
And that's one of the main messages we're trying to get out today, is that this TPD and other covers do exist, and people might be able to make claims.
Yeah, I guess the message is, look, in circumstances where people have been paying insurance premiums, they've been paying for that cover through their super. They didn't know that they were paying for that cover. They should get the benefits of that cover if they are entitled to it. So if they can't work anymore and they're considered totally and permanently disabled, they should be able to access that cover. That's what it's there for.
Yeah. So coming back to your client, so he had an illness?
Yeah, he was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah, so he had, as you said, he'd worked in manual labour jobs all of his life. And as a result of his rheumatoid arthritis, he wasn't able to continue working and doing those manual labour jobs. So he didn't know where he had super when he came to us. He
didn't come to you about this issue either, did he?
No. So nobody really, it's very rare that a client will come to us about this issue. Sometimes clients come and see us because they're ill or unwell and they want to make an application for an early release of their super. But it's very, very rare that a client will come and see us and say, I've got total and permanent disability insurance. Can you help me claim it? Yeah. So going back to the client we were discussing, he came to us because he had a number of debts. He didn't have any housing. He was really unwell. He couldn't get on the DSP,
disability support pension,
support pension, and and he was living in his car at the time. So he came and actually saw our homeless outreach solicitor, who I worked with because he didn't have experience doing these types of matters, and we we obtained the client's tax file number and we wrote to the Australian Tax Office, who provide us with information about people's super funds. And so we then contacted the fund and investigated if he had cover, and he did, and then we helped him claim it. And it was a long process in the sense that it took, 3 years for us to claim it, which is unusual. But it didn't take very much of our time or his time to actually submit the claim forms to do it. The major delay in that matter was he was homeless, and so he didn't have a phone, and he might disappear for 6 months and then come back, and they had a great result overall.
Yeah, which is life-changing.
Yeah, it's life-changing, especially in a regional area. $140,000 goes a really long way. And I guess the other thing to comment on, in receiving that payment, he's now on the disability support pension. In most cases, it's not going to actually affect his Centrelink benefit. It will go towards his assets test, not his income test. So, he's been on a priority housing list, I think, for 2 or 3 years. He's not got any stable accommodation. Now, he's going to actually be able to purchase a unit with that money. Yeah.
And you mentioned he had rheumatoid arthritis. So the TPD claim doesn't rely on the injury or illness happening at work, does it?
No. So you don't have to have it's not like a workers' compensation claim. Yeah. You don't have to be injured at work to be able to claim a total and permanent, a TPD, an IP, or an IP benefit.
IP is the income protection.
That's right, yeah. So income protection is a little bit less common than TPD, but, still can be very useful. Yeah.
So what do you need to show in order to get the payment under your TPD? So what does the total permanent disability, maybe break down those words?
Yeah. So traditionally it was pretty standard across the board. In order to claim a total and permanent disability benefit through the insurance in your super, you basically needed to be unable to work anymore and unable to return to gainful employment based on your training, education and experience. So, for example, if you had been working in a manual labour job your whole life, and you had a serious physical injury which prevented you from being able to work in a manual labour job anymore, and you had no experience doing anything else. Yeah. So you didn't know how to use a computer or work in retail or do anything like that, and you might be, say, in your late 40s. They would be a candidate that you would certainly look at for a TPD claim. Recently, there's no standard definition really anymore across all of the different super funds as to what the meaning of TPD is. There's been a move away from that, and now different super funds have different tests.
But generally you need medical evidence.
Yeah, so it's actually... so I guess going back a step, a total and permanent disability payment is in addition to a client's account balance. And so say, for example, your employers make contributions of $5,000 to your account. You're not claiming that under a TPD benefit. What you're claiming is an insured benefit, which is a lump sum amount of money in addition to your account balance. So that's what a TPD benefit is. An income protection benefit's a bit different in the sense that it's a weekly payment, and it's a weekly payment of either 2 years is standard or until retirement age. And that's in circumstances where you can't work anymore, or you can't work for a period of time because you're ill or injured, and so you get paid a weekly benefit, not a lump sum amount of money.
And you've had clients who've been able to claim that as well, who also just didn't know they had.
Yeah, you can. There's nothing preventing you from claiming both. Yeah. At the same time, because they're two different tests. And
sort of on that topic, if somebody has had many different jobs or a few different jobs over their life, and they've had been signed up to different super funds in different jobs, how does that work with the policies for each?
Yeah, so I guess, so if you have, I guess the best way to deal with that question is to give an example.
Yep.
I have an Aboriginal client who worked for various councils across Sydney. And in 2012, he had some chronic health issues and he was unable to work anymore. And so he relocated to a regional area. He came to see us again in severe financial hardship, homeless, and wanted to try and get on the disability support pension, but also didn't even know where he had his super, and he'd worked for like 30 years. So we were able to, again, contact the ATO and find out where he had super. Now, he has over 5 funds. So he's got more than 5 funds that had insurance cover that was active at the time that he stopped work, that he became totally and permanently disabled. And so you can claim on more than one fund, and the total amount that he's possibly able to claim, and we're in the process of dealing with that now, is over $600,000. Like,
So
it's
again,
a huge amount.
that really gets someone out of financial hardship.
Yeah, like,
Purchase
I mean,
a home, yeah.
purchase a home outright.
Yeah.
You know, buy a car.
Yeah.
Go on a holiday. You know, have some money for your retirement. All of those things. Yeah.
You mentioned before about people applying for the disability support pension. So if someone does receive a disability support pension, DSP, does that mean they automatically pass the test for TPD?
No, it doesn't. But it's a good indicator that you should definitely investigate it. So we say to people, or, you know, I guess it's particularly applicable to community workers, if a client comes and tells you they're on the DSP, that should be a red flag for you to be thinking about investigating insurance through their super, or referring them to somebody who can. Yeah. Same thing, you know, with people who come to community workers and say they're in financial hardship. There's a couple of simple questions that you can ask, like, you know, why aren't you working anymore? And if they say, oh, I've been really unwell, or I've had an injury, you know, it's an immediate red flag, I think, to then investigate this type of matter or refer them to someone who can.
And what steps can community workers take? Can they get the tax file number and look into what super funds people have, or is that the job that the lawyers need to do?
Oh, it's a question of capacity, really,
Yeah.
and interest in doing this type of work.
Yeah.
So, I guess there's nothing preventing, you know, a community worker from contacting the ATO with a client to try and find out details of the super funds. Or if they don't have time, then just warmly referring that client to us and letting us do that. You know, it's, I guess...
So do you want to explain what a warm referral is? Legal aid lawyers talk a lot about that. What does that mean?
Well, a warm referral is giving a lawyer at your local legal aid office a call and, you know, so that the client doesn't have to do it themselves. Yeah. So you're not leaving it in the client's hands. Yeah. You know, to contact legal aid and make an appointment with us themselves. Yeah. You do that for them, because in a lot of cases, these clients have so many legal issues going on that they won't even register when you talk to them about a potential TPD claim. Yeah. And they may not make the follow-up phone call. Yeah.
And is there anything else that would be useful for community workers to know about, or to be able to help their vulnerable people they work with around these TPD claims? What steps, I guess, can community workers take, and at what point should they do the warm referral, send people to a lawyer?
So there are a few things I think that are really important. The first one is, you know, the majority of these claims are paid at the time that, you know, following a client submitting the claim forms. The claim forms are really, really important to get right, because you don't want to be, and I guess in submitting those claim forms, you need to have experience in terms of what you're looking for on those claims forms. So when you, just checking that all the information's there, that on the medical statements the clients are going to submit, that the doctor has actually agreed or, given a medical opinion that does support a claim for TPD, not that they've said otherwise. Yeah. Things like that. So, it's obviously always better to get a claim right from the outset than to have a client do the claim themselves, get it denied, and at that point they're coming to us for advice. So I always think early referral is best. Yeah. The only other thing I think is really important for community workers, and in particular financial counsellors, to note is that insurance coverage, it's generally only in place with a super fund when a client's account balance is above a certain amount. So if you're assisting a client in making an application for early release of their superannuation account balance, you need to turn your mind to whether the client has an insurance benefit before you do that. Because if a client may be, on the cusp of satisfying that definition of TPD, but you may not fully know yet, you don't want to be taking the client's account balance out and then have them lose that insurance coverage as a result.
Yeah, that's an important message.
And I guess the third message I'd like to send out is, look, if clients have come to you and they've said that they used to work and they're now on the DSP and they haven't worked for some time and they've closed their super accounts, you can still make an application for insurance, a TPD claim on an account that's closed, provided that the client became TPD before they closed the account. So even, I have a number of historical matters in my practice where people have stopped working 18 years ago, but they had insurance coverage at the time. And if you can get the medical evidence, there's nothing preventing them from claiming on those closed funds.
Right. Thank you so much, April. And just to finish off, and you've probably said these already, but doesn't hurt to repeat them. What are the key messages, today that you want to get out? So as a legal aid lawyer talking to community workers, what are the main messages we want to get out there?
I guess the main message is trying to improve knowledge in this area, because there is a huge lack of knowledge on behalf of, even people that I work with didn't know that they had insurance coverage through their super. And they're educated people. There is a huge lack of knowledge and awareness in this area, and I'm trying to get the message out there to say that this is something that we should be thinking about, and the benefits available are life-changing, with a couple of examples I've said today. And just make sure that you turn your mind to it, and please refer clients to legal aid so that they can, get some advice about it. Yeah.
Thanks so much, April. I definitely learned a lot today, and I will be going home and checking my super policies as well. So thank you so much for your time, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks, April.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you're enjoying Law for Community Workers on the Go, make sure to spread the word. And if you have any feedback or even topic suggestions, please get in touch with us via email. Our address is cle@newsouthwales.gov.au. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, thanks again from the CLE branch here at Legal Aid New South Wales.